Republicans don't hate immigrants. In fact, we really like them.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, so what the hell am I talking about? I've never met a Republican. I've never spoken to a Republican who said, I hate immigrants. I don't want immigrants here. I don't like people from other countries. I've never met anybody who says anything like that. So what's all the confusion? Why does everybody think conservatives hate immigrants? Okay, let me make it very clear to leftists who are convinced of this myth that conservatives hate immigrants. We want to secure the border so that criminals and drug dealers and murderers and terrorists can't easily cross the border. The number of illegal immigrants that we have in America is an indication of how porous our borders are. There's problems with having the levels of immigration that we already have. There's problems with the amount of illegal immigrants we have coming into America. And so those are all things that, are issues that need to be dealt with. But the most significant reason that conservatives want to secure the border, we want to keep out criminals. We want to keep out terrorists. If there's a lot of illegal immigrants coming through your border and you're unaware of who they are, you wouldn't let just anybody into your apartment, into your house. You lock the door because you don't want strangers wandering in. You don't want homeless people coming in because it's dangerous, especially if you have children, right? Or if you have somebody that you love, your wife, your husband. You don't want just random people coming in because some people are violent. Most people are not, but some people are. So you keep your door locked. Now, that's not to say you don't want an occasional visitor. I mean, you might have somebody stay at your place for a few weeks even. Somebody that you know, somebody that you've spoken with, somebody that presumably you have some kind of relationship with. You're probably not going to just let a homeless guy sleep on your couch for several months. I mean, maybe you would. I don't know. Maybe you're that kind of person. Maybe you're very, very trusting. And I might do something like that. But I wouldn't do it if my girlfriend was here, or I wouldn't do it if I had my nieces staying with me, okay? Because although I don't mind putting my own life in danger, I have a huge problem putting, children that are related to me, or even children who aren't related to me. And that's the problem. When we are talking about politics, you need to take the emotion out of it. I'm going to do a whole video on that later. But people don't always realize I'm not just sacrificing my own safety with this political policy that I'm advocating, but I'm sacrificing the safety of some little girl in Michigan that I don't know. That's the problem. That's the thing that leftists aren't really thinking about. Here's why conservatives tend to like immigrants. Immigrants are often the people starting new businesses in America. I actually think immigrants start businesses at a higher rate than natural-born citizens. And we like business owners. We like small business owners. So if you've been able to figure out a way to get into this country, right? You've entered one of the immigration lotteries, you've gone through proper channels, you're some kind of refugee or something like that, and you've talked to the officials, you've filled out the paperwork, we recognize that you're not a threat to this country, and we've decided that we want you here. Then yeah, we not only do we not hate you, we're very happy to have you. We love it. We love the idea. Here's why I actually prefer meeting people from other countries, me personally, right? And I'm a very strong conservative. I feel like I learn more from people from other countries. If I meet an American, I will probably more or less have met somebody similar in my life. I probably have some idea about their politics. I probably have some idea of their upbringing, of their culture, obviously. If I meet an immigrant, I'm fascinated to learn about Nigeria. I've never met a Nigerian before. A lot of people from other countries, they might not even be from the mainstream of that country. They may have some counterculture stuff that they... It used to be when I was younger, I would meet immigrants, or I would meet foreigners or people from other countries. And I learned, I would learn a lot of very exciting, interesting things. For instance, when I lived in England for a year, and I figured out that there are parallels to British culture. Pretty much all of British culture parallels American culture, right? So we have our mainstream, they have their mainstream. They have their countercultures. We have our countercultures. They have liberals, they have leftists, they have conservatives. They have athletes, they have bookworms, all the same things that we have, all the same categories we have, they have the same categories. They're just, the people within those categories may express themselves a little bit differently, but it's essentially all the same. And I think anywhere you go in the world, you're going to find the same kind of categorization of people, which is really fascinating. It's really interesting to me. A lot of things about, the parallels, the similarities between us, I find fascinating. The differences between us, I find fascinating. But the one thing that was really disappointing when I first started to meet people from other countries was their utter and total ignorance of American culture. Outside the United States, people are very strongly influenced by left-wing America, right? Because a lot of reporters, a lot of the media are left-wing. So the ideas that foreigners have about Americans are all influenced by left-wing media. And that's awful, because most of left-wing media basically says that white Americans are racist, they're bigots, and so people will come here from other countries. And even Milo Yiannopoulos, when I was first watching him, he would say, I'm pretty far conservative, pretty far right-wing on a lot of different issues, but I do think that America has a problem with racism. And he's come around, I think, on that point. But it's fascinating to me absolutely how far off the mark people are from other countries in their perceptions of Americans. People from other countries either think that you're from LA or New York and you are a highly sophisticated liberal, or you are some kind of redneck, right? You're some kind of deep South racist. You're like an antebellum South racist. You're just a hillbilly. You're like something out of Deliverance, right? There's two Americas. There's New York, there's sophisticated New York, and there's Deliverance. And that's it. Those are the two. And as the years go by, as I get older, the more people I meet, the more disappointed I get, because their ignorance is perpetuated. It continues. That's the one thing that seems to stay the same about people from elsewhere, is they have this, the propaganda has worked. It's awful. It's terrible. And I always try to talk to them a little bit about American politics and try to re-educate people a little bit, but people don't want to hear it. People do not like to think they're wrong about things. They believe. It's funny, actually. If somebody learns something that's provocative, and they become attached to that, emotionally attached to that idea, it's very difficult to convince them that they're wrong. And the only thing that makes them think that they're right is because that's the first thing that they heard. It's really weird about how people are like that. People are so willing to just fix their ideas on the first thing they hear about something. It's like if you point to somebody and say, that guy's a womanizer, right? That guy's a real jerk. And you go and you talk to that guy, you might always be a little suspicious. Well, that person told me that this guy was a womanizer and he's a real jerk. So you're always going to kind of have that in your mind. It's going to take some time to get that out of your head. And then eventually, if you figure out, this guy's not a womanizer at all. It takes some time to actually accept that maybe you were wrong. Maybe that person lied to you. Because people lie. People aren't always super trustworthy. So yeah, conservatives, Republicans do not hate immigrants. All right? We love immigrants. Immigrants are great, right? They're fascinating. They're interesting. Almost everybody I know finds foreigners fascinating and interesting and charming. And I know people on the left and I know people on the right. So yeah, the leftist argument that conservatives are anti-immigrant, it's a straw man. Okay? It's a way of dismissing political ideas that we have that you don't want to actually discuss because we're probably right. Building a border wall isn't a bad idea. Don't dismiss it just by saying, well, you're a racist, you're anti-immigrant. Come on, we're not anti-immigrant. I mean, look, a lot of my ancestors were immigrants. A lot of my friends are immigrants. My girlfriend's an immigrant, for crying out loud. She probably just wants me for my visa. No, I'm kidding. She has her paperwork. We're good. All right, well, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. And if you actually are anti-immigrant, don't be. Immigrants are cool, man.
There is another employer who have encouraged the illegal entry into this country because they hire these individuals and hire them at starvation wages, and the individuals can't complain because of their illegal status. I'm going to do everything I can to get an immigration bill that will give us once again control of our borders.